What I was seeing was unbelievable. My chest constricted as I gazed at my phone's screen, which showed my mother sitting at our family dinner table with a glass of wine in her hand, utterly oblivious to the fact that she was being streamed live online. Sinead? Oh please. My mother rolled her eyes dramatically and sneered. Despite failing in nursing school and now circling the world like a frantic loser, my daughter believes that selling properties makes her successful. An hour ago, my cousin Jenna contacted me. I apologize, you should see this. As part of her continuous effort to establish herself as a social media influencer, she had included a link to her most recent live stream. The family got together for Sunday supper while I was out of town attending a real estate conference in Providence, and I had barely checked into my hotel room when the message arrived. I'm Sinead Sullivan, a 32-year-old woman who has been discreetly covering my mother's medical expenses for the past 5 years since she was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis. I had been working 60-hour weeks to keep up my real estate company in Boston, transporting her to appointments, taking care of her insurance paperwork, and paying for her prescription drugs. Nobody at the dining table was aware that last year, when her insurance refused to pay for specialist therapy, I had spent all of my funds. My mother, who seemed to enjoy the attention from my aunts and uncles, went on in the film. It's such a shame. She used to have such lofty aspirations of becoming a nurse. But now she just sells homes to successful people. To my dismay, I could hear my aunt and uncle laughing with her as she laughed. Jenna's camera captured everything. I could see that she was shooting from her lap, most likely in an effort to be discreet while capturing her family's daily activities for her social media fans. My mother's statements were all the more upsetting since she was unaware that she was being filmed. Do you recall her dropping out of nursing school? My mom looked at my aunt. She pathetically came home wailing about how difficult the examinations were. And now she behaves as if she's successful since she sells a property every few months. In actuality, I had postponed my nursing studies just to assist her in her time of need. Even though I was earning a respectable living from real estate, every additional dollar I made went into her medical expenses rather than her education. With a theatrical sigh, my mother reached for her glass of wine, the same wine I had bought for family dinners, and said, "Sinead just doesn't have what it takes. Real achievement just isn't for everyone." Jenna eventually turned the camera away after another agonizing minute of the webcast. As the harsh truth set in, I remained still in my hotel room, tears running down my cheeks. I'd convinced myself for years that my mother's often scathing remarks were simply her pain talking or her traditional method of inspiring others. But this wasn't a passing phase, this was who she really was. And now there was indisputable evidence. Jenna texted me again, and my phone buzzed. I'm so sorry you had to witness that. I didn't understand her until it was too late. Would you like me to remove the video? For a long time, I gazed at the message. I typed back, "No, don't bother. I have to show you something when I return tomorrow." The following morning's trip back from Providence was a haze. I hardly recalled the 2-hour drive home or checking out of the motel. I could still hear my mother laughing as she made fun of the job I had developed to support her. My life had taken a very different turn 5 years prior. I was prospering at the age of 27. Halfway through my nursing program, I had always aspired to become a nurse in order to serve others and change the world. Then came the call that changed everything. Mom had been taken to the hospital after collapsing at work. The diagnosis of aggressive rheumatoid arthritis required ongoing care and therapy. She had sobbed from her hospital bed. "It's not fair. How am I going to pay for all of this? The insurance covers only a small portion." I had made a promise to assist her while holding her hand. "Mom, we'll work things out together." When I was in high school, my father died, so Mom and I had to rely on one another. I thought our relationship was important, even in spite of her critiques and sometimes harsh remarks. Growing up, she had made sacrifices for me by working longer hours and ensuring that I had chances. It was now my time to take the lead. In a matter of months, I decided to put my nursing studies on hold. Real estate offered the possibility of substantial income and flexible work schedules. I could take care of Mom, drive her to appointments, and yet make enough money to pay for our expanding needs. It was only meant to last till she stabilized. and I saved up enough money to go back to school. However, temporary became years. The therapies had improved Mom's health, but she still required physical therapy, many specialist appointments, and costly drugs. I would take over as her only healthcare manager, devoting hours to researching therapy alternatives and haggling with insurance companies. Sometimes, in rare moments of gratitude, she would exclaim, "You've become so responsible." I had been able to get through many long nights and demanding work weeks because of those remarks. After pulling into my driveway, I sat quietly. I hadn't informed Mom that I would be returning today. She believed that I was still in Providence, attending the conference to network with other realtors. But I had already canceled that plan after watching the video. It buzzed on my phone. Jenna texted, "I'm at the Maple Coffee Shop. You can meet whenever you're ready." I inhaled deeply and made an effort to arrange my ideas. I opened my laptop bag and took out a folder called Mom Medical, which had a detailed account of all the payments I had made over the previous 5 years, including bank records and receipts for every specialist appointment, insurance premium, and medicine copay. I never thought these documents would be used as proof of treachery. I had been storing them for tax considerations. After gathering the folder and taking another deep breath to regain my composure, I texted Jenna back, "Arrive in 15 minutes." Despite the crowded coffee shop, I quickly recognized Jenna. Her vivid blue hair and large headphones made her stand out at the age of 16. She wrinkled her face with remorse when she saw me. As I sat down, she exclaimed, "I'm so sorry, Sinead. I was unaware that she would say such things. Aunt Patricia began discussing you during my regular livestream, which quickly escalated into a heated argument." I interrupted her digression and replied, "It's not your fault. In fact, I must express my gratitude." Jenna seemed perplexed. "I'm grateful. What is the purpose of my gratitude?" After setting the medical folder on the table, I opened it to find 5 years' worth of insurance letters, appointment schedules, and payment records. I muttered thanks for revealing the truth to me. I have covered all expenses. I have covered the costs of her prescription drugs, therapies, and insurance. Everything. As Jenna turned through the papers, her eyes grew wide. "It's thousands of dollars." I verified that it was more than 100,000. For her, I put my whole life on hold. I put my finances, my nursing degree, and even my relationships on hold for her. I believed she needed me, so I put everything on hold. Jenna's countenance changed from disbelief to rage as she looked up from the paperwork. She said, "You're not good enough. It's very messed up." I nodded as an eerie serenity descended upon me. I always believed that she was encouraging me with her critiques. She valued what I was accomplishing despite everything. I gave a sour laugh. "I guess I was mistaken. What will you do, then?" Jenna inquired. As I talked, my choice solidified, and I reclaimed the folder. "I'm finished. I've already prepared the necessary documentation to delete my name from her accounts." "You won't go up against her?" I shook my head. "Why would it matter? She would just say I'm being overly sensitive or deny it." I opened my banking app on my phone after taking it out, in the hopes of ultimately going back to nursing school. I've been setting aside a small amount of money every month. That's precisely what I'm going to do with it now. As I was speaking, I moved the money into my personal savings account, money I had set up for my mother's upcoming medical treatments. Even though the action was minor, it seemed enormous. Jenna muttered, "Wow, are you certain?" "I've never been more certain of anything," I said, astonished at how composed my voice sounded. "She rejects everything I do. Yet I've been her safety net for 5 years. Today is the last day of that." I showed Jenna my admission letter from the nursing program, which I had almost postponed once again due to my mother's scheduled medical procedures. I assured her that I would not be postponing any longer and that I would begin in the autumn. Jenna grabbed my hand as she reached across the table. "In case you require the entire video, I will provide it to you." I could feel the burden of years of commitment easing as we said our goodbyes. I was selecting myself for the first time in a long time. Instead of the shame I had anticipated, I felt a sense of clarity and purpose, which had been lacking for far too long. When I phoned the insurance company, the agent sounded perplexed. "Do you wish to take your place as Patricia Sullivan's account guarantor?" Could you tell me why? Personal reasons, I answered. My voice was unusually steady. After this month, I will no longer be liable for any payments. Day 3 of my new resolution was upon me. I had been in a busy tizzy all weekend, composing emails, changing payment details, and phoning insurance providers, as I methodically destroyed the financial web I'd built to assist my mother. Papers littered my dining room table. The agent went on. I should let you know, Ms. Sullivan, that your mother's coverage options may change, and her premium may rise significantly if you don't support her. I get it. I stopped. Would you kindly provide her home address with an official letter outlining these changes? I want to make sure she knows everything. I was well aware of what I was doing. In a week, the letter would arrive, allowing me to finish the remainder of my preparations before the impending showdown. Since yesterday, my mother's messages have been ringing on my phone. She had anticipated me taking her to a doctor's visit this morning. But she had no idea what I was doing. I hadn't arrived. You're where? It's been an hour since I started waiting. The office of the doctor phoned. They denied my insurance card. As soon as possible. Fix it. Are you not paying attention to me? Saned. Pick up your fucking phone. Every message made me more determined. I put my phone on quiet and went back to work. I had finished most of the financial separations by nightfall and had advanced to the following stage. I got my laptop open and started writing a single, well-crafted email that I would send to my whole extended family. Dear family, I have decided to step down from overseeing my mother's medical treatment and financial assistance. I have paid for all of her medical bills for the last 5 years, which has come to more than $120. This includes insurance premiums, prescription drug prices, doctor visits, and other therapies. Although I've made this decision for personal reasons, I wanted to share it with everyone in case my mother needs assistance later. In case any of you would like to assist, I've included a thorough summary of the support I've given over the years. I want you to know that I didn't make this choice lightly. Greetings, Sinead. The spreadsheet I had made, which detailed each payment, appointment, and hour spent overseeing her care, is included. The proof was indisputable. As promised, my cousin Jenna emailed me the whole livestream footage. I downloaded it and stored 3 copies, one on a USB drive, one on my computer, and one on my cloud storage. Although I didn't have any definite plans for the video just yet, I had a feeling it could be required. I was startled when the doorbell rang. My mother was standing on my doorstep, her face twisted in rage, as I could see through the peephole. With my heart pounding, I took a step back. I know you're in there, Sinead. Now open this door. I said nothing as I saw her shadow pass under the door. You've missed 3 of my calls. The drugstore refused to refill my prescription. What are you doing? I inhaled deeply before speaking firmly through the door. Mom, I'm not doing this any longer. Information from the insurance company will be sent to you shortly. I advise you to thoroughly read it. What are you discussing? We need to open this door. No. On my lips, the one word had a strong feeling. I've heard your true thoughts about me. We both need to go on with our lives. In my opinion. Before she burst, there was a minute of bewildered stillness. Is money at stake here? Are you following everything that I have done for you? The irony almost made me chuckle. Mom, goodbye. Please do not return. I left the door as her argument became louder and went back to my laptop to complete the task I had begun. I felt lighter with every stride, as if I was finally letting go of a weight I had been carrying for far too long. The consequences arrived quickly. Within hours of sending my email, alerts flooded my phone. My abandonment surprised and horrified Aunt Maureen. Uncle James believed that I was being nasty and self-centered. Thomas, my cousin, advised that I resolve any little conflict I was experiencing with Mom. The only people who appeared to understand were Jenna and, quite shockingly, my old Aunt Bridget. Bridget had a straightforward message. You have to have guts to defend yourself. My love, if you need anything, give me a call. After blocking my mother's number, I muted each relative who didn't want to hear my side of the tale. The quiet that ensued seemed oddly tranquil. I completed my re-enrollment for the autumn semester 3 days later while sitting in the Boston City Nursing School admissions office. The advisor, Ms. Sullivan, looked over my file and remarked, "Your prior academic record is strong. But you've been out of the program for a while. To find out if you need to attend any refresher courses, you will have to take a placement exam." "I understand," I said, with a jolt of enthusiasm. I've already begun going over my old textbooks again. I experienced a sense of belonging that had been lacking for years as I crossed campus afterwards. Instead of living to satisfy the wants of others, I should have been here, following my own goals. I had already begun preparing. But my real estate business would need to change to fit my academic schedule. I would employ a part-time assistant to help with administrative duties, concentrate on higher value homes, and work with fewer clients. Despite the reduced income, I could still manage to cover my mother's expenses. A formal-looking envelope was waiting for me in the mail when I got home. My mother received a letter from the insurance company, but it ended up at my address. It explained how her coverage had changed and how her rates had increased significantly because I was no longer the guarantor. I ought to have felt bad. Rather, I felt validated. My phone rang. "Jen, have you seen what's going on in the chat room for the family group?" Without introducing herself, she requested. I confessed to leaving all those conversations. "What's happening?" "Your mother is claiming that you've experienced a mental breakdown. She asserts that your outbursts are a result of the stress caused by your failed business." Jenna's voice carried the air quotes. "She is totally reversing the course of events." Unsurprised, I sighed. Traditional deflection. "And that's not all," Jenna said. She persuaded Aunt Maureen to allow her to move in temporarily while she takes care of her medical condition. And she was unaware that I was still in the chat. I shook my head. Of course she has. Mom has always been adept at finding a rescuer. After hanging up, I opened my laptop and viewed the video clip Jenna had provided me, the live stream that had significantly changed my life. Since that first heartbreaking viewing in my hotel room, I hadn't seen it. I moved my finger over the play button. This recording had strength. This recording gave me the strength to defend myself against my mother's falsehoods and to reveal to everyone who she truly was behind closed doors. Did I need that validation? Though, were the family members truly worth persuading to accept her tale without even consulting me for my version of events? I didn't play the video before shutting down the laptop. The proof was there, but I had more important matters to attend to. I had completed my application for a nursing position. For the first time in years, I was preparing for my future rather than handling someone else's issue as I set the date for my placement exam. On my counter, the insurance letter served as a reminder of the adjustments I had made. After giving it some thought, I mailed a fresh envelope to my mother's real address, put the letter inside, and wrote a brief message. "Someone accidentally delivered this to my address. I advise you to thoroughly read it. It contains only facts, without any passion or signature." I relieved another portion of my burden by placing the envelope in the mailbox. She now had to deal with the fallout from her actions. Not me. There was relative quietness for 2 weeks. Between client appointments and real estate showings, I spent every free moment studying in order to get ready for nursing school. Every practice test bolstered my confidence. And we scheduled the placement exam for Friday. The ambush followed. My mother and Aunt Maureen were waiting next to my mother's car in the parking lot when I caught a glimpse of them in my rearview mirror while I was wrapping up a showing of a 3-bedroom colonial in Brookline. I wanted to drive off, but they had obviously seen me. Running would only delay the inevitable. I inhaled deeply before getting out of my automobile. "We need to talk." "Sinead," my mother remarked in a falsely sweet voice. I could see the stress on her face up close. She leaned heavily on her cane, a prop she usually reserved for situations where she wished to draw attention to her condition. And her hair was left unstyled. "I have nothing to say," I said, gripping the keys firmly. Aunt Maureen took the lead. "Sinead, your mom is having a challenging time. She can no longer schedule visits with her experts. And the cost of her medications has risen. Did you wish for that?" I explicitly expressed my desire for the highest level of respect and gratitude. Acknowledgement for 5 years of sacrifice was what I desired. I desired a mother who did not disparage me behind my back as a desperate failure. My mom's face became white. "What are you discussing?" I watched the live webcast of Jenna's family meal. "Mom." I slowly looked into her eyes. I heard what you had to say about me. Her expression briefly changed from one of recognition to protective rage. You're misrepresenting the situation. I was only letting off some frustration. That's what everyone does. Aunt Maureen seemed perplexed. Which video? What's she talking about? Patricia? The irony almost made me chuckle. In the hopes that I would never find out. My mother had not even mentioned the live feed to her closest friends and family. I told my mother, if you want, show her the video, or don't. Nothing changes as a result. I've already decided. Changing strategies. My mother's voice broke. Sinead, I am your mother. How can you leave me when I need you the most? After all I've done for you? I felt something crack within me. The bottled-up resentment finally surfaced after 5 years. I repeated, everything you've done for me. Incredulously, what I have done for you. Let me tell you, I put my entire life on hold. I paid over $100 for your treatment. I handled all of your prescriptions. Negotiated with insurance companies on your behalf. And transported you to all of your appointments. You called me pitiful in response. You made fun of my career. The one I created just to help you. My speech was calm despite my trembling palms. I supplied evidence to all members of the family. I am responsible for every payment, appointment, and sacrifice. Therefore, don't just stand there and pretend that I'm the bad guy in this tale. Aunt Maureen had changed the way she looked at my mother, with a hint of skepticism showing on her face. What's in this video? Patricia, she said softly. Ignoring her, my mother directed her desperate attention toward me. I apologize if I offended you. But this is a ridiculous response. I'm dealing with severe health issues. I know, I said coolly, and I have supported you consistently for 5 years. It's another person's turn now. I looked across at Aunt Maureen. You mean she's now living with you? Has she yet to ask you for money? How many times have you taken her to doctor's appointments? You picked up how many prescriptions? Aunt Maureen's quiet was plenty. I turned back to my car and remarked. That's what I thought. I wish you both the best. But I will no longer yield to influence. I still have to call my mother. So this isn't the end. You can't simply abandon your family. I put my hand on the vehicle door and hesitated. One thing, Mom, you're correct. Family does not abandon one another. It also does not exploit or denigrate one another. Perhaps you should consider who actually left first. I looked in my rearview mirror as I drove away. My mother was clearly reprimanding Aunt Maureen with a variety of gestures. I reasoned that certain things never change. However, I had evolved. I also discovered that I was no longer feeling guilty when I went home to finish preparing for my nursing exam. I felt free for the first time in years. The last 3 months were filled with a lot of activities. I restructured my real estate firm to fit my new schedule, enrolled in the expedited program for students returning to school, and aced my nursing placement exam, in order to manage paperwork and schedule showings while I was in class. I employed Kylie, a talented college student, as my part-time assistant. The changeover wasn't smooth. Late nights, schedule issues, and the rare moment of self-doubt were all part of the experience. However, every minor triumph confirmed that I had made the correct decision. Every day began with a renewed sense of purpose and enthusiasm, freeing me from the burden I had carried for years. The state of my family has come to an uncomfortable standstill. It seems that my mother had revealed her actual nature to Aunt Maureen after our altercation in the parking lot. And she discreetly contacted me a week later. Over coffee, she said, I didn't know what you'd been going through. Patricia told me you were selfish and challenging. I ought to have gotten your version of events. I said, it's okay, and I was surprised at how sincere I was. Mom has always been adept at managing the story. I hadn't previously given much thought to the Boston Real Estate Association's annual awards event. I hadn't gone to business gatherings because I was too busy taking care of my mother. However, I was moved when my broker nominated me for the Resilience in Real Estate Award, which honors agents who overcome major obstacles while continuing to operate their businesses. My colleague Jeffrey asserted during our weekly workplace meeting that you are an obvious choice. Since you started nursing school, you have closed more transactions than anyone else in the office. I'm not sure what resilience is. If that isn't it, I was excited about the event. An opportunity to celebrate my professional and personal growth. even if I didn't expect to win. On the night of the event, I was in a hotel ballroom with Boston's real estate industry all around me. For my first non-work-related indulgence in years, I donned a dark blue dress that I had purchased especially for the event. I chatted with industry acquaintances I hadn't seen in a long time and mixed with coworkers after snatching a glass of champagne from a passing waiter. Sinead Sullivan's recognizable voice rang out. I turned to see one of Boston's most accomplished brokers. Margot Stevens, I hoped you would be here. Regarding your efforts in the Brookline market, I've heard nothing but positive things. We discussed current real estate trends, and I was able to participate in the discussion with ease, which was a pleasant difference from the preoccupied, overburdened person I had been for years. In my handbag, my phone began to vibrate. At first, I chose to ignore it, totally absorbed in the enjoyable professional moment. A minute later, it vibrated once again, so I excused myself and took a quick look at the screen. I got 5 missed calls and a text message from an unknown number. Jenna is here. She is in possession of Uncle Patrick's phone. An emergency. Give me a call back as soon as possible. I felt a knot in my gut. I answered the phone as I entered a silent corridor. Jenna? What's happening? Jenna's voice was strained as she replied. I'm so sorry to bother you. Your mother and I are in the hospital. They believe she may have had a response to her new drug when she collapsed. She's requesting you. I shut my eyes and waited for the recognizable rush of responsibility and remorse to overwhelm me. It arrived, but now it was different. The amount is not excessive, but it is manageable. Is she steady? I inquired. Yes, but she will be under monitoring for the night. Uncle Patrick persuaded me to call even though I didn't want to. The phone changed hands, and I heard muffled voices followed by a shuffling sound. Sinead? This is Patrick. I understand that things have been challenging, but your mother needs you. We are unable to respond to the physician's inquiries on her medical history. I saw the attendants of the ceremony making their way into the main ballroom while we were speaking. Soon, the awards presentation will begin. I made my choice and responded. I understand. However, I'm currently at a significant work function. After that, I may stop by the hospital. Patrick's voice sharpened. This is your mother that we're discussing. Whatever party you're at can wait. Surely, the old Sinead would have given in right away, putting her mother's wants before her own. However, I was no longer that person. I confidently stated, I'll be there in about 2 hours. Tell the physicians, please, and I'll respond to any inquiries then. Patrick, too? I appreciate you supporting her. I hung up the phone and inhaled deeply. I saw my image in a decorative mirror as I turned to re-enter the ceremony. Shoulders back, head up, eyes clear. I recognized myself for the first time in a long time. And Sinead Sullivan is the recipient of the Resilience in Real Estate Award. When my name was called, the entire room erupted in cheers. I sat stunned for an instant. To be honest, I hadn't anticipated winning. Jeffrey pushed me with his elbow and smiled widely as I got up and walked to the stage. I went to the microphone, and the crystal trophy felt heavy in my hands. As I looked out at the audience, I saw rivals, mentors, and co-workers coming together to celebrate my efforts. The confirmation was overwhelming. Thank you, I said, sounding more composed than I actually was. I can't quite describe how much this means to me. Managing a busy profession and personal commitments has been difficult in recent years. I doubted my ability to continue on a lot of those days. I stopped and reflected on the many late evenings I had spent looking into my mother's treatment choices and the early mornings I had spent hurrying to get ready for showings after restless nights of anxiety. However, real estate is more than simply house sales. It's about being resilient, adjusting to shifting markets, conquering challenges, and coming up with answers when they appear unattainable. The same abilities helped me overcome my own obstacles and return to nursing. My first passion. This discovery caused the throng to mutter with curiosity. I'm thrilled to be continuing to assist my real estate customers while still working for my nursing degree. Therefore, professional resilience is not the only reason for this honor. It serves as a reminder that we may change who we are at any time. I appreciate this distinction. As I made my way back to my seat, I was greeted with warm handshakes and embraces from Jeffrey and our other colleagues. As the ceremony came to an end, a number of individuals who were sincerely curious about my unusual professional choice came up to inquire about my nursing courses. It was almost 9 by the time I looked at my phone once again. Uncle Patrick had left me 3 more missed calls. And Jenna had texted me. She is steady. Go slowly. With the trophy securely wrapped in my tote bag, I packed up my belongings, bid farewell, and made my way to my car. I utilized the 20 minutes it took to travel across town to the hospital to mentally prepare for the eventual encounter. My mother was sitting up in bed when I got to the hospital room, appearing unusually awake for someone who had reportedly had a terrible medical emergency. Jenna stood clumsily at the window, while Uncle Patrick sat on a visitor's chair next to her. My mother finally exclaimed, in an angry tone, as I walked in, "It's kind of you to accommodate us in your hectic schedule." I put down my tote bag, revealing the trophy box's corner. "Hi, Mom." As soon as my event ended, I arrived. "How do you feel? What do you suppose my emotions are?" "I passed out. You were too busy having a wonderful time to notice that I may have perished." Uncle Patrick, obviously uncomfortable, cleared his throat. "According to the doctor, that was probably a side effect of the new drug. Once we change the dosage, she should be well enough to return home tomorrow." I nodded while maintaining a neutral look. "It's excellent news. I'm relieved that it wasn't more severe." My mother's expression twisted in annoyance at my composed manner. "If you hadn't left me, this wouldn't have occurred. I have no need for my new insurance. These new doctors don't comprehend my illness as old experts did. And I can't afford half of my prescriptions." I said, "Honestly, I'm sorry to hear that. It must be difficult for her to adjust to new healthcare providers." She appeared even more enraged by my cool-headed reaction. "After everything you've done to me, is that all you have to say?" I looked at Jenna, who had a look of humiliation mixed with pity. She nodded subtly in support. "Mom," I whispered softly, "you had my backing for 5 years. To ensure you received the greatest treatment possible, I put my life on hold. You branded me a desperate failure after I gave you all I had. You made fun of the profession that funded your medical care. You made fun of my dreams." Uncle Patrick scowled. "Sunead, what are you talking about?" Jenna took a step forward. "Uncle Patrick, I unintentionally captured a live stream during supper a few months back. Did your mother not inform you about that?" My mom's face became white. "That is totally unimportant. Sunead is manipulating the situation to justify her selfish actions." I took the trophy out of my tote bag and placed it on the bedside table. The etching was vividly evident as the crystal caught the light. Sunead Sullivan, Resilience in Real Estate. I told Uncle Patrick that I had earned an award tonight for running a profitable company in spite of major obstacles. Those difficulties included helping Mom out financially and medically for 5 years while she secretly disparaged my accomplishments. Uncle Patrick looked from the award to my mother's protective demeanor. And then he understood. I went on. "I didn't come here to argue. I wanted to make sure you were okay. And I came because you needed medical knowledge. Mom, I don't wish you any harm. Never have I simply couldn't continue to give up my life for someone who didn't value it." There was silence in the room. For once, my mother didn't have a shrewd response or a cunning strategy at her disposal. She only gazed at the trophy, which was obvious evidence of the achievement she had so blatantly disregarded. I murmured quietly, "I should leave tomorrow. I have an early class. Can I drive you home?" "Jenna?" Uncle Patrick was talking to my mother in a low, inquisitive voice as we were leaving the room. This time, the conversation I'd been dreading for months was finally happening. After 3 months, I stood in my immaculate white uniform, my hands calm, giving my patient an intravenous drip. My nursing teacher saw my technique and gave me a sign of approval. "Well done, Sullivan. Your clinical expertise is developing rapidly." As I fastened the line, I grinned. "Thank you. Everything seems to be coming together at last." I went to my car after finishing my shift at the teaching hospital. Stopping to look at my phone, my screen came alive with a text from Jenna. "A professor's interview is going viral. Already 20,000 views." I shook my head in wonder and chuckled. The Boston Medical Journal interviewed me last week on career changers who choose to become nurses later in life. How my background in real estate had equipped me for the healthcare industry had piqued the interviewer's curiosity. I clarified that both professions demand meticulousness, effective communication, and the capacity to support individuals throughout significant life changes. Additionally, both taught me the value of limits, which are essential for all healthcare workers. My phone rang on the car's Bluetooth while I was driving home. The phone number is unidentified. Hi there, Sinead? Patrick is here. The tone of my uncle's voice was uncertain. Have you got a moment? I stiffened a little. Is everything all right? Indeed, it's all right. He hesitated. I watched your interview. It was quite motivating. Thank you, I said, taken off by the praise. Your mom also witnessed it. Silently, he added. I waited, anticipating hearing about her most recent grievance or critique. She said very little. Patrick added. However, I believe that when she saw you in that nurse uniform, it finally made sense to her. You're actually pursuing your lifelong dream of becoming a nurse. I let the vehicle sit in my driveway as I took in what he had said. He filled the pause by saying, I'm proud of you, Sinead. I also apologize for not realizing what was going on sooner. The mere admission made me cry uncontrollably. I'm grateful, Patrick. That is really significant. We hung up, and I took a minute to think about how much had changed in just a year. I now had the real estate award trophy on my mantle, beside my nursing textbooks, which served as tangible reminders of my past successes and future objectives. I was still not talking to my mother, but that was all right. I no longer expected approval from someone who couldn't provide it. Rather, I discovered it in my own achievements, in the gratitude I received from patients for my treatment, and in the professional acknowledgement that confirmed my decisions. I grinned at the pile of nursing journals on my coffee table as I walked inside my house. My haven. I might give Jenna a call later to catch up, but tonight I would prepare for the test next week. Between courses tomorrow, I have 2 property showings planned. I had a meaningful, fulfilling existence that was all mine, even while it wasn't essential to my pleasure. Patrick's phone call was a pleasant surprise. I was no longer defined by whether or not my mother ever accepted my choice. I had regained my direction, my prospects, and above all, my self-esteem. As I settled into study, I realized that achieving this was the biggest triumph of all.